Vlog Talk. Today we're going to be doing 3 easy recipes that are going to help improve your bird's enrichment when it comes to feeding them their fresh foods. Enrichment is an extremely important part of a parrot's life. It can have very drastic side effects to their health if they don't have a lot of varied enrichment. So by changing up the way that we feed their daily fresh fruits and vegetables, it is a very easy way for us to improve their health and ensure that they're getting all the enrichment they can get. Fresh vegetables is a very basic part of a parrot's everyday life. It's something they very well need to be healthy, but the way that we can serve it can be just as important as what we're serving. It's very easy for birds to get bored of their food if it's just chopped up the same way every day and served in the same dish in the same spot of the room. So these 3 recipes are here to help show you different ways that you can present your bird's food to make it more engaging and interesting to help prevent them from getting bored. This first recipe is a really fun one to help encourage your birds to forage for their food a little bit more. You're going to need an artichoke, a red bell pepper, as well as a carrot, some kale greens, spinach, and a turnip. So we're going to start off just by prepping our vegetables. So we're going to go ahead and peel our carrot and remove the ends. This is just to help make everything nice and clean and fresh. And then we're going to go ahead and start chopping it up. Now for this one, you can kind of chop it up however you want and create a bunch of different sizes. So I went for some discs, I also went for some little sticks. You're just kind of creating as much variety in the food as you can. You want to give it different textures, you want to give it different sizes, you want to give it different widths. This way when they're picking up one piece of carrot, it is different than the other one. This helps create enrichment because they're varied, they're different. Even though it's the same food, it looks different, it feels different. And that can help create a whole different situation where now the bird has a bunch of different things that are actually the same object, but they all look different, which can create a bunch of varied enrichment just on that aspect alone. So I've got 3 different styles I'm going with, and we're going to repeat the same process for our turnip, where we're going to peel it and then chop it up. The same thing can apply, you can chop it up however you like. I decided to go just with these sort of semicircle things, and we're going to repeat the process for each of our vegetables. So we're going to go ahead and take the bell pepper and we're just going to cut away all the white parts, anything that's not good for them, and just repeat the process. Take it, chop it up, make some nice little stick shapes that we're going to be able to utilize later in this little project. I also decided to make some big chunks, again just creating as much variety as I can with the textures and the sizes of the vegetables that we're using. So the next one is kale, and this one's nice and easy. I just rip it up into a bunch of different sizes. There aren't really a lot of ways to make kale varied, so I just went with a really small piece, some medium-sized pieces, and then some very, very large ones, just to kind of give it a bit of difference. There isn't a whole lot you can do to make kale look special though. Spinach is the same thing. We're just going to chop off all the stems and then go ahead and make those a bunch of different sizes as well, taking the leaves, shredding them up, just kind of creating as much variety as we can with the limits that we have when it comes to leafy greens that are kind of hard to make textured. So we're going to start prepping it. So we're going to take our artichoke, and as you'll notice, it has these little leaves that you can easily tuck things into. And that's exactly what we're going to be doing. So we're just going to take whatever pieces we have, whatever vegetables we've cut up, and we're just going to kind of tuck them in there. You can leave some of them totally visible. You could even hide them all the way down. However, if this is your first time presenting this to your bird, I would make sure to keep everything nice and visible because they're not going to know to chew through the artichoke to find the other vegetables that you've hidden yet. So you just kind of take it, tuck all the pieces in until you're happy with the way that it looks. Mine turned out really well. I was really happy with it, and I ended up serving this in a few different ways. You could just leave it laying down on a table, or you could also hang it up in their space. I decided to hang mine up, and the birds went nuts for it. Mia is a very scared little bird, the little blue parrotlet there, and she went right to it. She was as happy as could be chewing at this thing and having a blast, let alone just the aspect of being able to get their vegetables in this unique way. They're also able just to play with everything, pull it out, and find things, which creates a lot of enrichment. So recipe number 2 here is another pretty easy one. We're going to need some giant spinach leaves. The bigger the better. You want to be able to move them pretty easily and not have them fall apart. So we're going to take our bell pepper as well as a turnip and some carrot that I've already got peeled already, so we don't need to worry about that. And then the beet. With the beet, I haven't used this yet, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to peel that nice and quickly and just make it nice and clean. We're also going to cut off the ends of it as well, just because they're dirty. You don't really want them eating that. So we're just going to chop that off and then go ahead and cut it into a bunch of little little shreds. With this one, it is important that you cut all of the vegetables into really thin sticks, and that is because we're going to be taking all of these things and tucking them into the great big spinach leaves. So you want all of your pieces to be nice and thin so that way you can fit a bunch of variety without them taking up an absurd amount of space. It'll make your steps later a lot more difficult for you if your vegetables are too thick to actually fit into your spinach leaves. So just make them nice and thin and even. So we're going to take our spinach and we're going to get rid of the stem. You could leave it on if you wanted to. I just decided to get rid of it because it was getting in the way. And you're just going to take some of the vegetables that you chopped up and you're just going to place them into the leaf. It doesn't matter exactly how. For this first one, I'm doing them all up at the top. So when I roll it up and tuck it together, some of the vegetables will still be visible and the birds will know to go after them. So I'm going to take the spinach stem as well, tuck it in there, and we're basically just going to fold it like a burrito. So I'm going to tuck up the base and then just roll the whole thing over so it conceals itself. And there you have it. It's a nice little birdie burrito. Now you can make this a bunch of different ways to make it a little bit more challenging. So you can go ahead, and what I'm doing here is I'm taking a smaller leaf and I'm tucking all of the little pieces of vegetables in there, and I'm just going to completely conceal the vegetables the best that I can, so that way none of them are visible. This is going to create a bit more of a bigger challenge where the birds have to go digging and chewing through the different spinach leaves to be able to find what they actually want inside. And it also just is like a little bit of a surprise when they get to it. I'm now taking a secondary larger leaf as well, which I'm going to use to enclose the other leaf that is presently full of vegetables, just to make it a little bit more difficult. So that way it's going to stay shut for one, because if you just have one leaf, they tend to just unravel. Whereas if you use two, it'll hold the whole thing together a little bit better, and you can just tuck it all in there and the birds will have to dig through it to try and find it. This last recipe is a super quick one. You're going to need a couple of toothpicks or skewers or whatever you've got, and you're going to take a bunch of random vegetables and chop them up. I've decided to use a turnip, as well as a beet, a bell pepper, and the carrots. On top of that, I'm also going to be adding in some greens, so I'm using my kale again, as well as the spinach. And it doesn't matter how you cut these up, try to leave them a little bit thicker though, because you're going to be stabbing them onto the skewer here, and you don't want them to break when you're putting them on. So you want them to be a little bit thicker and just wide enough to go on. Now I use the carrots for a very important part. I use them to cap off the ends. So because they're super firm and super stiff, when you put a carrot on the end, it's unlikely that the other vegetables are going to push it off the edge. It just creates a nice little end cap to keep everything on. Now there's no particular order to this. You just slide whatever vegetables on you want, and you've got yourself a little bird kebab that you can again hide around the room or leave hanging around. This one I just left laying around, and both the birds absolutely loved it. They just really enjoy when it's attached to one big stick because they can throw the whole thing around and they can knock it over and have a fun blast with it. Newt likes to pick it up and put it in his foot. It's just an interesting way to make the vegetables look a little different, create a little bit more variety when it comes to their daily enrichment. So that's going to do it for today's video. I hope your guys' birds love these recipes as much as mine did. They have been chewing away at them all day long and will not stop. They are loving the heck out of them, especially the artichoke has proven to be one of their favorites. Being able to hang it and move it around the room has really given a whole new aspect for them to be able to go and search and forage and figure out where their food is, as well as kind of fight the artichoke to try and pull it out and create a lot more enrichment that way. So I hope your birds love these recipes as much as mine do. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all next time. Bye!